Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream today. Ashley Mayu, joined by Brian Nato, and kind of looking at the conditions right now. We're going to start with a fast main track, and we're on the Tapeta today. But I know there's a chance of thunderstorms later today, Brian, so we'll see if this kind of weather carries itself on Father's Day. 12 races on tap, $100,000 guarantee in the Rainbow Six.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And you mentioned your dad is at Fort Erie, maybe watch. I know my dad's not watching. I think there's a pretty good chance of that in Denver. He's not watching, but Dad, love you and happy Father's Day, and everybody else out there as well. As Ashley said, $100,000 in that gross jackpot guarantee. There was one single in the finale yesterday. It didn't work out, so again, we're back to battle. That starts in race 7. You've got a ticket, right, to show for that, but early pick 5, I've got a ticket.
Yeah, you have the early pick 5. We'll kick it off in race 1. 7 furlongs on the main track, 12-5 maiden claimers for 3-year-olds and upward. You mentioned the start of the early pick 5. Curious to see what your ticket looks like.
Yeah, we've got $27 there, so we'll go with a 3-pack in the opener. In race 2, I've got Awkward Pause on top. For the Polisas. The single is in race 3. We go all the way, well, not all the way outside because the 13 does draw into race 3, but What Not is the single for Liz Dobles and Imaginary Stables. 3x3 late double to get out of the sequence. Follow Me Mom on top, and then in race 5 all the way inside North Caucasus.
$27, pretty
27.
affordable ticket. Diving more into race 1, though, I'm curious, kind of looking at my selections, kind of in order, 5, 7, 9s. Curious to see who you end up using as your top pick. And we'll start with your top pick in here, the number 9, Stone Age, out of the Robert Smith barn. Second last time out at the level. It was coming in from Tampa after 2 starts there and seemed to kind of pick it up here last time.
Yeah, and we've got the same picks. We just reversed them around a little bit. This is one of the few Tampa horses to come in here and run well. We saw was a tax code the other day, yesterday, for Owen Hardy, and Godolphin wins. And I think it might have been the first Tampa horse that made any kind of significant dent. But Stone Age did, and he ran well. And he was a good second. Ciango was really good that day for Fausto Gutierrez. He was well clear of third. And Chantel picks up a nice mount here. We're drawn well to the outside. Can kind of put him in the game from the start.
It was 23-1 last time. Not going to be those odds today. Now, I went for the number 5, Hunter, out of the David Brady barn. This one was 9th last time out, but a key thing, it was on the turf. It was going 2 turns. It was against maiden special weight competition. I thought that race 2 back, the only dirt effort at the $16,000 level, makes this one a major player. I was dead last early on and tried to circle the field. Finished second in there, beaten by a length and 3/4 behind Awkward Pause, who we'll see later today.
Yeah, and who I picked later today. The only thing I didn't like about the race was it just completely fell apart and fell into his lap. He does stretch out a furlong and a half today. I think that's a positive for him. We'll draw a line through the turf maiden special weight last time, way over his head. I just don't know how crazy they're going to go up front today, Ashley. It doesn't look like there's a lot of speed, and it was another one of the reasons I tilted towards Stone Age. With that being said, I use this horse as well.
When we talk about 2 horses, not really consistent in form, but Pork Chop, the number 7, is pretty consistent. 6 for 10 in the money so far in the career. Was 3rd last time out behind Stone Age, who ran 2nd. Almost got the job 2 starts back, almost got the job done at 7 furlongs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to not have this horse in my pick 5 on a relatively budget ticket. But Jose really hasn't gotten any improvement out of this horse, and 3 starts off the claim, and that's Jose's game. He's so good at it. And he really hasn't moved him up from Fernando Abreu. So, maybe one of these days that kind of 52, 53 buyer race is going to win. And it could very well be today. I just don't see a big reason why this horse would jump up today, as you said, 0 for 10.
Yeah, the only thing I'll note, 2 starts back. This horse is kind of involved early and gets Miguel Vasquez in the saddle today. So I think that could be an interesting maybe change of tactics going back to that race 2 back. We'll move on to race 2. Stay on the dirt here at 6.5 furlongs, 12-5 claimers. It's for 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and upward, which have never won 2 races in their career. We both land on the number 3, Awkward Pause, who ends up being my best bet on today's card. 1 of 2 for Eddie Plesa Jr. in here. Disappointed last time out going a mile, but I thought the race 2 back, the maiden victory, is the one to key in on.
Yeah, I agree. And last time he was in a tough spot for 20. I don't know if they're Seinfeld fans, the Plesas or not, but Awkward Pause, if you get the reference. It's a good episode. Nina. Now we drop. I think this is a better level for this horse. You said it. The run 2 back was really sharp. And, take note how Hunter runs in race 1. Get a little bit of a better gauge. He, too, kind of picked up the pieces in that race 2 back that fell apart, but I didn't think that was a bad run. That was a very fast race for the level last time that he comes out of, so I think it makes it it looks like he got beaten up pretty good, but I don't think he ran that poorly because they went so fast. You're not going to see that kind of a race typically for 20s.
He's going to reunite with Junior Alvarado today, who rode him in that maiden score. The 7, Democracy, out of the Antonio Sano barn. He's been against tougher in those last several efforts, going to drop into the lowest tag in his career so far, but he's still going to need to move up a bit.
Yeah, 1 for 13. He is kind of what he is. He's been running second. He's been running third. The drop is going to help him. But, there's no upside with a horse like this, whereas with Awkward Paws, I think he's still moving forward.
And finally, it is inside the number 6, Pacific Legend, third last time out while facing 12-5 claimers, going 5.5, going to stretch it back out an extra eighth today.
Yeah, I mean, we're making third and fourth picks here, but I think the gap from the top two is pretty seismic. There's no doubt about that.
All right, race 3 is up next. We'll move on to the Tapeta for the first time today at a mile and a 16th, 12-5 meeting claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. And we'll start with your number 12 in here because I know this is your single in the early pick 5. Whatnot out of the Liz Doble's barn was a pretty nice fourth last time out on the turf course.
Yeah, and they teamed up the other day, Liz and Imaginary Stables, to get a win. Last Sunday, actually, that kind of spiced up that Rainbow Six. And Whatnot, I just think, is in the right spot here. Only one race on the Tapeta. That race is probably better than anybody in here that they can do in this Daughter of Declaration of War. That was her debut too, and so and it wasn't with Elizabeth Doble. So I just thought at the end of the day, Ashley, this horse, the post isn't ideal. I get that, but if she can duplicate that form, or quite honestly, if she can just get back to the Tapeta race she already ran, to me, she's supposed to win.
The number 7, Ice Love, is where I landed. We're kind of flip-flopped here in our top 2. 2 solid Tapeta races back-to-back, both at the level and going 2 turns. The one concern, I'll say, this one needs to find more and hasn't found it yet, but unlike Whatnot, does have a better draw.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Jorge Delgado and Chantel do good work together, 23%. And, he's the one if Whatnot doesn't win. And you said it, too. It is a much, much better draw than Whatnot.
Then underneath, just quickly, we turn to the first-time starter in a race that doesn't have too many of them. Take the podium, Safi Joseph Jr. I think your thoughts are the same. Safi's horses, they're always live in a lot of their spots, but not necessarily ready to kind of win on debut.
Yeah, I mean, Safi's awesome with everything he does, but if you're going to try to beat him, this typically is a spot. 13% with debut runners, 14% debuting in a maiden claimer, 10% debuting at a mile or farther. So this is a spot. With that being said, this horse doesn't have to be Ramsey's solution like yesterday to beat this field.
No, especially for that tag. Race 4 will stay on the Tapeta. $10,000 claimers for fillies and mares 4 and up. We're going to cut back in distance, though. 5 furlongs here. You go to the number 2, Follow Me Mom, out of the Gustavo Delgado barn as your top pick, who does have a win on the Tapeta. The last 2 is faced tougher.
Yeah, the class drop, that's it. I mean, Alize has been so good on the Tapeta for an extended period of time, so we can get out of her shadow a little bit. We've got some tactical speed to work with, and there's no world beaters in this field. And I thought the drop might play in this spot like this.
We're outside the number 3, Lucky Girasols, who I landed on. Disappointed last time out, is now going to join the barn if Danny Pita was picked up for $10,000. Took some play in there, but never really got running from the back of the pack, going 5.5, faced Drinks on Me, as well as I'm praying for that. The second place finisher, Vale, didn't get the greatest of trips yesterday in her first dirt start, but I think when you go to that race 2 back, a replication of that would put this one kind of in contention.
Yeah, that's the only question, right? Can we get back to those 2 races? We don't really know what happened last time. Was down inside. Maybe she didn't like that. Now we go away from Victor Barboza. But, Danny Pita's not the highest percentage barn on the backstretch. He does okay with his claims, though, with a relatively small sample. Maybe he can get Lucky Girasol back going in the right direction. If he does, those races will be tough to beat.
9 to 5 on the morning line. Drinks on Me. First off, the claim for Gilberto Zerpa. And Brian, I just want to start with the stat here. I mean, we know the numbers for the outfit, they're high, whether it's win percentage or off the claim. But just looking at the past year, 31 claims, 7 of them have ended up as winners. First out, 23%. Not really a big increase here, though, in the money. Only 29% in the money with $1.36 ROI. Pretty nice horse in terms of having that early foot and has fared well in those last 3 efforts.
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to have to deal with this horse. There's no doubt about it. And Gilberto does such a good job overall with his claims. He's pretty judicious with what he does and doesn't claim. Well drawn. I think Elsa Morrison has done a pretty good job at the Royal Palm Meet picking up winners. So with that being said, I wouldn't want 9 to 5 on this horse, but they're going to have to beat her.
Race 5 is where I'll move to next. We'll move back to the dirt here at a mile, $25,000 claimers. There is a middle pick 4 here today that gets kicked off in this race. And you go to the number 4, Chatin, getting some significant class relief out of those last 2 efforts facing maiden special weight.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You see the horses that this one was running against, and I just think the class relief is a big move here today. Out of those maiden special weights, 2 turns on the turf on debut. That's a tough ask. Pretty snappy. Look how quick they went in that 1-turn mile last time. So now I think Shatin, with 2 starts underneath the belt, is in the level probably he was supposed to be in maybe all along. The barn's been doing very well. Had a couple 2-year-olds, first-time starters run very well on Friday and yesterday, Saturday. So Shatin, I think, is a big threat here. We're going to see the best that Shatin can deliver, I would think, today.
Yesterday, I tried to win a maiden race with a keen ice. It didn't fare too well. I'm going to try it again today with the number 2, Trusting Bond, a second-time starter out of the Louis Russell barn, who, I wouldn't say it was a long shot. It was 6-1, was fair price in that debut. I was not in for that tag, being a Florida bred. Really never got going, but the barn, they're 1 for 6 with maiden second time out. They don't have a ton of maidens in the barn, but the thing here that I noted for the barn, they're about 21% when stretching horses out.
Yeah, Mr. Louis a little slow into stride at this meet as opposed to the previous 2 summers when he was winning races in the 35% range. His main man Jaramillo is here, so that's a positive, and I agree. I think we're going to get improvement out of Trusting Bond, second time out. Again, another runner with the start behind him. And this is a barn that's going to win a lot of races here this summer. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Number 1, North Caucus. You picked this one in the second spot. Last time out, ran a good race, finished third. I know the rider stood up a little bit early in that race, misjudging where the line was. That was against $16,000 claimers.
Yeah, I don't know if he wins, but he would have been right there, and it was unfortunate. But now we're back, and I'll tell you what, Ashley, if he runs back to that race, they're gonna know he's in here, because I think that's probably the race to beat. Now it kind of came from nowhere a little bit. We'll see what we get today.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, in terms of figures, that's the best figure in the field. And one other horse we'll touch upon in here is the number 8, Pure Roar, out of the Murat Sankal barn. I know you wanted to show a replay for this horse who's been on the turf in those last 3.
Yeah, so he's coming out of 2-turn maiden special weight. So here's the start. He's the number 3 horse, and he doesn't get away cleanly, and he gets shuffled, and he's back there. He almost comes to a halt for. And I don't think he really wants to be there. And then what happened was, I just think he got maybe a little rank, and now he sees daylight. Junior put him to the outside, and I think he saw some daylight, and he wanted to run off a little bit. And this isn't what they want to do, and he might get bumped a little bit here, and he's going to go up like about 5 wide and range into the picture, and you kind of know what's going to happen from here. He's not going to fire. He's going to tire. He was 14-1 that day. Comes out of that Starship Abraham race, and here he is kind of going all the way up. And I just kind of think, Junior just really was kind of at the mercy of this horse right here, doing what he didn't want him to do, and he's going to predictably tire shortly after. But I thought, with a better beginning today, he's going to be closer. He's going to be on the drop. You might get a little hint of value with him, too. He's another horse like Shatin that I would like to think you're going to get his best shot today.
You can see there he's actually lathered up a little bit. You mentioned he got bumped at the start. He's never had really a clean break or a fair start yet, so that'll be key today to see if he can kind of put himself in the mix. Race 6 is where we'll turn to next. 5 furlongs on the Tapeta, 12-5 claimers for 3-year-old fillies. More fillies and mares 4 and up, which have never won 3 in their career. And I'll start with my horse first, Brian, the number 3, Red Wind, who I think, when you look at her, she's had her fair share of chances of winning this year. Hasn't been able to pick up a win in 2022. Did win 2 races last year. But I thought last time out her effort at this level was fair enough and probably good enough to, give her a shot today.
Yeah, a little bit of a drop as well. And she has run well. She's another one that's kind of trying to break the door down. The losses are adding up. There's no doubt about that. But she does have a couple lifetime wins, and one of them is on the Tapeta here. And she's a horse that I think Marco Spinesis can put her in the right spot, which should be close throughout.
The number 5, Days Humor, is where you land out of the Ronaldo Yanez barn, who this horse has been third last 2 times, but facing considerably tougher competition.
Yeah, I always say would drown this field. I mean, she would lap this field. So this is a big class drop. She's been facing older and good starter optional claimers. She's well drawn. I would kind of think with an alert beginning, Hector Barrios puts her on the lead and she tries to go about her business. My best bet of the day here. Unfortunately, because we always like to single our best bets of the day, in the horizontals, but she's not in any horizontals. She's in the middle, pick 4 at least, the ever popular one. So you can use her there. Other than that, I think you're going to struggle to get a price on this horse.
Right, and you mentioned no price here, but you go to a price underneath with the number 6 Spanish Delight, who was 4th last time out. I guess it's one of those races that Red Win and Island Magic were both in. This horse was back of the pack early on and did show at least some run late.
Yeah, it was her first start on the Tapeta, and I didn't think it was that bad, actually. Like you said, she passed a few horses, made up almost 5 lengths as well, so I don't see why she can't build on that. And, we've got a strong favorite on top. Maybe we can get some value underneath in the exacta.
That's the first half of the Father's Day card. We'll be back shortly. We'll start with the Rainbow 6 and Race 7.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Ground on first inside. Race. And a quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today, Ashley and Brian. We finished the first 6 races. We have 6 more left today. We'll kick it off in race 7, which is a maiden special weight event for 3-year-old fillies, going a mile and a 16th on the Tapeta. It's the start of the Rainbow 6 with that $100,000 gross jackpot guarantee. And I've put a ticket together. I've done, I guess, the Ron Nicoletti special of 43.20. We'll use 2 runners in the first, Margot Romance and the number 4, Perfectible Lady, who will show a stat on here in a minute. Race 8, I decided to spread. I like the number 3, Sandy Dude, who I thought was a key scratch today. But I'll use the 1, 7, and 8. And for me, I think Fishing for Fun and Valhalla Aero Base look like the 2 top players in there. Race 9, I spread once again. I'll use the 5, Arrow Shape, the 9, Sacred Sunday, and as well as the number 10, Miracle Drug for Safi Joseph Jr. Race 10, just 2 runners in there, as well as race 11. And race 11's a big field. I didn't take a lot of coverage in here. I thought the 5, Sigrun Fast Boy, my top pick, looked tough, as well as the number 9, Midway Mischief for Mark Cassie. And then to wrap things up, I'll use my long shot in here, the number 8, Alba Mia, out of the Carlos Perez barn. We had a winner yesterday on the program. I also used the 3 and the 9. So as I mentioned, the Nicoletti special, 43.20.
No single in there either.
I know, no single. My best bet's early in the card, so I guess it really is a Ron Nicoletti special. But diving more now into race 7, Brian, I'm curious to know who you used on top in here. It is a maiden special weight event with a couple runners in here, and I knew this would happen. You used a horse I don't have it all, the number 7, Ganesh, out of the Murat St. barn.
Well, it comes out of the Freedom Speaks race, and she ran so well yesterday in the game face, trying dirt and stretching out. We'll take a look at the replay here, too. And I thought this horse ran okay, all things considered. Now, Ganesh is the 7, again, this day. Just going to get shuffled right here. Thanks, Bob. Good work. It's going to get shuffled here, and you're going to go back a little bit. We'll see this coming out. And now she's entering the far turn. She's nowhere even in the picture after losing a lot of key early position early on. But I thought she ran a little bit this day, Ashley. And, we talk about this a lot, where these maidens that don't have things go their way, they can just quit and call it a day and say, you know what, I'll do it again next time. I thought she ran a little bit late. The other thing I think that's noteworthy, too, Freedom Speaks. As you can see on the board here, she's running off the screen. She was 6-5. Now, Murat St. Paul's, not necessarily a barn that's going to be bet that much. This horse was 7-1, and Freedom Speaks was 6-5. That's like sneaky toad action. So I kind of think this horse is okay, and I think she's going to move forward today, and maybe we'll get a little bit of a decent price on her as well.
Paco was aboard on debut. Edgar Perez today, who I think had 3 wins yesterday on the program. So we talked about it yesterday. Edgar Perez has been riding phenomenally at the meet, so maybe one to watch and hear. Go to the number 4, Perfectible Lady, out of the Amador Sanchez barn. Wanted to show a stat here because you look at this horse and what she's faced so far. She hasn't been on the Tapeta yet in her career, and I think that's kind of key to note here because looking at maidens on the Tapeta for the barn the past year, they have a pretty good strike rate, 3 for 11 and 27%, 45% in the money with $1.98 ROI. It's not a huge sample size, but at least almost half the time they're in the money. I think her last 2 efforts, both on the turf, are quite respectable, and her only 2 efforts since joining the barn.
This is a barn that had a huge championship meet, and I think what happened maybe a little bit was the horses now are graduating to tougher races,
Right.
going through their conditions. He's struggled a little bit here, but his main man, Hector Barrios, is here, and it won't be long before Amador starts winning races in bunches again.
Trainer Tom Proctor will send out the number 5, Wandering, who finished 4th last time out in that first turf effort. It seemed like this horse is kind of going in the right direction. She might have needed some time off between her 2- and 3-year-old season.
Yeah, I agree. Second off the layoff now. We got the route and turf out of the way last time. Now we go to the Tapeta. I would think she'll have no problem handling it. A nice bred runner, a Malibu Moon out of a Tisnow mare for Glen Hill. And Tom's really been doing good things all year long as well.
And just one other horse to mention quick. You mentioned Morale St. Gals. One horse in here, the number 3, Margot Ramance, the other one for the barn. I just thought this horse was going to maybe be part of that early pace scenario and stick around for at least a minor share. I used this one in the 2nd spot. Finished 3rd last time out against maiden special weight competition, but the runner-up came back to graduate next time.
Yeah, the only question to me was, does she get a little hot and bothered by downburst to her inside? If they go at it early, it might set it up for someone else.
Turning to race 8, 6250 claimers on the main track at a mile. Looking at this race is where the late pick 5 is going to kick off, and I know you have a ticket.
Yeah, scratched out of a few. My long shot is out today, unfortunately. $24 play. We'll get to the 8th in a second. We go to the outside, Miracle Drug, good U2 song, in race number 9. In the 10th, we go 65 is the order. September 10 in Luddington on the drop will be tough in there. There's the single, Sigrun Fast Boy. Not my best bet, but we single. I thought we talked about this in the office. Use 1 or use 6 or 7 of them in that kind of spot. And then 93 is the order in the finale, Semiramis on the outside. Another Murat Sankal horse.
Yeah, we're counting on him a lot today. $24 affordable late pick 5 ticket. And you spread here in the opener, race 8. I mentioned it, 6250 claimers, but it's for 3-year-olds or 4 and up that have never won 2, and these races are always kind of difficult to handicap. Horse that you use on top and horse that I use just below and second is the number 7, Fishing for Fun out of the Mohammed Mubarak barn. Finished 5th last time out, but that was double the claiming price and certainly a drop today.
Yeah, Muhammad scratched my long shot in race 9, Morning Cocktail. Maybe he'll get it done here with Fishing for Fun. This is a barn. If you've been around for a little bit, you remember this barn doing such good things. 20 years ago maybe, but he's trying to get his stock back, and he's overdue to pick up some wins, and they're going to come. Fishing for Fun, 1 for 14, 5 underneath finishes. It's not ideal, I understand that, but I think he's been showing some signs of life in his last 2. Gets a lot of weight from this field as well.
The 8, Valhalla Air Base, is who I landed on in the top spot because there's a scratch in here of the number 3, who's the horse that I originally used on top. And interesting angle here. This horse getting blinkers off that just raced on June 12th a week ago, but didn't really fire on the Tapeta at all. And I think when you go to the races 2 and 3 back, going a mile on the dirt, obviously looms contention in here.
Yeah, you're a little braver than me because that 1 to 5, he had to win 2 back, and he couldn't even run second. So I got to fade this horse, but I get it. The blinkers off should help.
Thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate it. The number 1, Just So You Know, was against $8,000 claimers last time out and took a lot of respect in there. Didn't fire, but is going to also get back on the dirt.
Yeah, Bobby D had Valhalla Air Base, and now he's got Just So You Know, and this one on a little bit of a drop I think should help. Getting back to the main track might as well.
Race 9 on the Tapeta at 5.5 furlongs, $20,000 claimers. Again, condition here, 3-year-old fillies or fillies and mares 4 and up that have never won 2. A lot of the same horses here were a little bit different in terms of order, but you mentioned the number 10, Miracle Drug, as a horse that you're interested in, going to drop in for the $20,000 tag after finishing 2nd in her first race as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, 2nd off the layoff for Safi, the drop you mentioned as well. She's got the speed to be involved throughout. Junior's back now, and he's going to start rolling. So I thought this one was going to be tough. Again, I scratch into a Morning Cocktail, my long shot out.
To her inside's the number 9, Sacred Sunday, a 4-year-old daughter of McLean's Music, who finished 3rd last time out, will in for the $20,000 tag. That was back in March. Late March, was in the barn of Wansi Avila, now in the Victor Barboza Jr. barn. And the barn does well with new acquisitions, not really on the trainer switch, more on first off the claim, but hasn't really missed the board yet so far, so I thought this one loomed big in here.
Yeah, without a doubt, and Edwin gets aboard, and certainly one of the ones in here, and I think a must-use if you're playing these horizontals late.
Laura Casares will send out the number 5, Arrow Shape, who was also 3rd at the level last time out. This is a horse that In terms of trip, might get a good trip sitting just off of it. Brian, I'm curious to get your thoughts. That race 2 back, I think, ran into a pretty big monster in Fire and Spice for Chris Davis.
Yeah, and Fire and Spice loves the Tapeta, and Bunny Not Beast ran well too and came right back to win. So I agree. Don't hold that against her. That wasn't a bad effort at all. You look at that race 3 back, super, super fast. And you're right, Ashley, could trip out nicely in here.
A field of 7 is up next in race 10. $20,000 claimers 4 and up that have not won a race since late December of 2021. Looking at this 7-furlong event. Again, a lot of the same horses, Brian, but a little bit different order. A horse that I use further down, but you're going to use on top at 6-1 on the morning line is the 6th September 10 out of the Rohan Crichton barn. Finished 4th last time out, going a mile on the main track.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good race that day. Cozy, my boy, just freaked, and it was a fast race. Here's Rohan. We're dropping in class. I feel like this is a drop in class. You even see the race for 35, 2 back. So I think September 10, I could have elevated this one to my long shot, but I think when it's all said and done, we're not seeing 6s on this horse.
And just go down, the past year. Basically, all the races show up in the form for the past year, and look at the names of this horse that he's faced. Joe DiBaggio, Rough Entry, Pudding Kaloo. I mean, these are kind of overnight handicap horses, so I think this group's a little bit softer for that one. The number 2, Acertico, out of the Ron Spatz barn. Ron had a good day yesterday, 1-2 in the game face. With this one, though, 3rd last time out at the level and distance. Kind of chased the pace in there and was favored, which you don't necessarily like to see that this horse couldn't make up any ground late, but I thought the race was decent enough.
Yeah, I agree. We get a big jock upgrade here. We go from the 7-pound apprentice to junior, who, is as good as there is, and Ronnie's is starting to put it together as well. The only question I have, we haven't talked about it, you would think Examiner's going from the inside. Does Acertico, is he able to settle just a little bit and get first run, or does he get kind of bogged up with Examiner down inside?
I'm curious to get your thoughts, too. We both used the morning line favorite, Luddington, underneath, and didn't endorse this one on the top spot. I think on his best day, he's a major player here, but the consistency is a bit of a concern.
No, I agree, and that's probably why we didn't put him on top. The dropping class, you can see on his page, he's never been in with a group like this, so, this should really wake him up. And it's not like he ran poorly last time. I think if he gets back to that starter, 20 starter, 2 back with, I'm a G6 and Tune In and Mr. Tito's, that's going to comfortably win this race. But as you kind of alluded to, Ashley, what do we get out of him today?
Race 11's on the Tapeta, the start of the late double, and allowance optional claiming event that you alluded to earlier, Brian. It's a field of 9. You either use one or you kind of have to use a bunch of horses because it is an interesting race to handicap. We both end up on the same horse in here who we both have a lot of confidence in today. I think, is this your best bet on the card?
It's not actually, but it easily could be. I would think Sigram Fastboy is going to go off favored, and they could go overboard on this horse. We'll show the replay, too, because, he had a trip last time. He's outside, and he never just was able to save any ground. He was wider, and widest the whole entire way, yet somehow he's only beaten 3 3/4 lengths, 3 1/4 lengths, excuse me. And now we're drawn better today, Ashley, and, there's not a lot of speed other than Ballador down inside, so I would think he can put him in this race early, and he can save a lot more ground, which is not what happened. Steve Dwoskin and Miguel teamed together yesterday, and, this is the time when Steve really gets rolling.
You can just see how he lost ground, he was wide, and then you can see the other horses to his inside, each almost in position, kind of take off like runners on a track, right? And he's still wide throughout in here, and I think the key thing to note, this was his first race back since early January, so now putting this in today with a better trip, second off the layoff, you can see here him in the stretch now. He's really trying to dig in, but these horses were already kind of had the jump on him.
And the other thing, too, to know, is what you alluded to just now, the horses that ran 1-2 were 2-1 throughout, so it's a race where no one came back, really. I thought he ran a lot better than it looks with a less than advantageous trip.
You wanted to show the replay. I wanted to show a stat here. Obviously we both really like this horse today, and just looking at that second off the layoff angle for 2 to 6 months, past 2 years, 27% from a sample size of 11, but in the money, 73% of the time. So kind of a testament to Steve Dwoskin and his training job. Now, other horses to consider. I went to the number 9 in here, Midway Mischief out of the Mark Cassie barn, graduated up at Woodbine on the Tapeta. stretching all the way out from 6 furlongs to 1.125 miles. And it's a game performance. I'm not sure what he really faced there, but he went back to Canada and did well.
He's a scary horse, isn't he? Because he hasn't been seen since September, and that race was so fast, and he looked so good doing it, as you said, stretching out. Where have you been? That's a problem, but it's not like he's in for a tag or anything. So, you know, he's one to give a look at in the paddock on the tote board, too. You don't want to see him up there at 7-8 to 1.
We wrap up in race number 12, 12-5 at Claimers, going 6 furlongs on the main track. You go to the number 9, and here's your top pick, Semiramis. This one out of the Murat St. Gall barn. We talked about this earlier. Just some significant class relief today.
Yeah, and we're dropping from the special weight ranks. We're also cutting back from 2 turns to 1, and he seems to be at least on figures moving forward. And another one, there's a lot of horses today that are supposed to fire kind of their career best shots in the spots that they've been put today.
So I went with a long shot in here, just knowing that horses like the 3 and the 9. To me, they're a bit of wild cards in some ways on the drops, but the 8 Alba Mia out of the Carlos Perez barn, I mentioned earlier, had a win yesterday in the program, and it's had a really good meet so far, 5 for 15. Thought this horse picked it up a bit last time out, was forwardly placed in there, and did tire a bit going 5.5, but just curious what this horse can do on the main track.
Yeah, 4th start, 3rd start of the form cycle, 3rd start off the extended layoff, and does seem to be moving forward.
Well, that's how we see the 12 race card. We're not done quite yet. We still have the lightning round to get to, and a lot of stuff on here today, Brian. I will kick off with a recap of yesterday. We had 2 stakes races, specifically a stake and an overnight handicap. And Ron Spatz had the 1-2 punch in the game face.
Yeah, boy, Last Leaf is so cool. And I don't want to take anything away from Freedom Speaks, who's definitely going places for Ronnie. But, boy, Last Leaf, she beats boys. She wins turf stakes. She runs well on the Tapeta. And now she wins at dirt stakes as well. Him and the team have done such a good job with her. How about Ramsey Solution? Wow.
Ramsey Solution, what a cool game horse who's faced some nice horses throughout his career and tried the Tapeta here at Gulfstream Park yesterday. And I didn't think got the best of breaks in the race, but still was much the best.
He seems like a horse that he's probably hard on himself because you've seen the layoff and the extended layoffs. First time with Safi. Lionel Reyes gave him a great ride, too, because they went wild up front, and he waited, and that last run was the winning run. If they could keep this horse going, he's an exciting horse.
And he seems like he can basically run on anything, which is nice to see as well. So big day yesterday for Ron Spatz and Safi Joseph Jr. We'll recap right now, though, our best bets and long shots on the card. And, Brian, you have to remind me of yours. I know my best bet comes in race number 2 as Awkward Pause.
Day's Humor in race 6. You can get that one in the middle, pick 4. There's a single there. We also like Sergrim in race 10 as well.
Yeah, he'd be like a co-best bet, I guess, for both of us today. Unfortunately, no long shot for you today. As I mentioned, I go in race number 12, the nightcap, with the number 8, Alba Mia at 6 to 1. And I think that might actually float up if the 3 and the 9 get hammered in there. Can see comeback on the lightning round. Edgar Zayas has been sidelined with a shoulder injury for quite some time, and is going to make the return to the races this Friday.
Yeah, that's exciting because, we know he's worked hard to get back. He had a little bit of a setback, and he had to take the championship meet off, which kind of tells you just how maybe much pain he was in. He's named on, I think, 4 horses on Friday, so one of the good guys, and he's going to add a lot more depth to that jockey colony. There's no doubt about that.
And it's been kind of a slugfest in the jockey colony. Edgar Perez has been riding well. Junior Alvarado spending his summer down in Florida, and you still have the normal guys as well, such as Miguel Vasquez. So going to make things exciting for the rest of the Royal Palm meet. And last but not least, our sister track, Santa Anita. Closing day is today. They had some exciting racing yesterday on their program, but for Father's Day and closing day, $500,000 guarantee pool in that late pick 5, and it's mandatory Rainbow 6.
Yeah, and they've got 330 carried over to today in that Rainbow, and I think they're expecting about 3 or 4 million. I'm always betting the over on those bets, and that kicks off, I believe, in race 6 out there. That's at 3:36 in the p.m. So as we're wrapping up, you can fire at Santa Anita.
Well, that is the lightning round for today. We're going to send it up to Pete Aiello to get the changes and track conditions, and we'll be back here shortly for race 1.
The Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance is really the vehicle for the transition for our racehorses coming off the track into a second career and safe environment for these horses when they're done racing. I've been passionate about racehorses my whole life, animals in general, and without the TAA to provide that oversight, there would be a big void in terms of making sure that we have this ongoing safe environment for our off-the-track racehorses. I'm excited about the undertaking and excited about working with our board and our team at the TAA to continue the wonderful progress that has been made. So I'm very excited about what the future holds.